around. Do you get
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say? There could be
Yeah.
like a mini train in between those in the building and stuff. We don't actually know what and what is in the building. We just got to know that you don't have to go out. You don't have to go anywhere. Everything is in there. If you want to go to the
Yeah.
salon, it's there. If you want to go here. But if we think of it like the normal world. If I live here and my salon is about 4 miles away, definitely I definitely need a car. So if you live on such a block and maybe it's going to take you about maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because 20,000 people is a lot.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
there must be
yeah.
something that takes you there on time. Maybe there's going to be like multiple lifts in there and stuff, or
Yeah.
multiple. There must be something that moves
Mm.
them around.
Yeah.
Except you decide, all right, is an half an hour walk? I want to walk it.
Yeah. I suppose there'd be like multiple bus stations in there,
Exactly.
terminals and stuff.
What was
Because
the actual point of this?
looking at the building from the picture is massive.
It is
Mm.
Massive.
massive building, yeah. Yeah, sorry, it's Trevor. You was gonna say something.
Well, I only said what. I mean, I looked at the thing you sent, and what is the point of them doing this? They must have some purpose in trying to avoid people leaving the building.
Yeah.
I think it's
Again,
I think it's just a way to decongest the
yeah, the
main
congestion.
society and
Yeah,
just let
probably.
people stay within a
Yeah,
confined area or something like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just I was just thinking about the no, I wasn't thinking about it because I saw it on Facebook and I was just reading the comments and some of the comments are hilarious. And somebody posted the weed guy must be making a killing, you know.
Mm. Yeah, it's quite incredible, really, what goes on, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah, so they're not even thinking about it. Just shows you how the human mind works. They're not even thinking
I
about
tell you.
legitimate. They're not even thinking about legitimate business. They're thinking about illegal business dealings.
Mm.
The weed guy must be making a killing. And I thought, huh.
That
That's
shows
good.
you how the human brain works,
It's, it's,
how humans think.
it's complex, isn't it?
Mm.
The
Yeah.
human brain is
It's
complex.
complex.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
another
on the
thing,
point of
go on, go
sorry,
on.
I was only
Yeah.
going to pick up the human brain because there was a guy, I don't know whether you saw him, either of you, on Monday. What day is it today? Wednesday. It was on Monday morning on Talk TV, and there was this guy that they had on there that the interviewer or the presenter Mike Graham was talking to, and he introduced this fellow as a mystifier stroke magician. So
Wow.
that sort of piqued my interest. I thought that sounds interesting. And he said, "Oh, well, this fellow, he's a young chap. He was, I could think, in his early 30s." And Mike said that he's been to parties at Elton John's, who thinks he's excellent, and he's been to one or two other famous people's parties because he's just quite clever. And I love watching magic. And he did say, the young chap, he said, I do magic. He said, but I also do what I call mystifying people. And what he did, it blew me away. I'll tell you what he did, and it blew Mike Graham away as well. So I don't think there was absolutely no suggestion of Mike Graham being in on it, as a stooge or whatever.
Yeah.
So and Mike said, "Okay." He said, "Are you going to try something on me?" And he said, "Yeah, I will." He said, "It doesn't always work." So in a way, he kind of made his apologies first. He said, "But what I want you to do is to think of any politician who's alive or dead, but any politician you like, and I'll try and read your mind to see who you've picked out." Now, of course, at that point, you think, well, that's a hell of a thing because it could be someone who's dead. If you think of people before we were all born, you know, Disraeli, all those people, as well as all the modern lot, and then you've got Thatcher, that generation, and so on. And it could be a local, but he said it can be a local politician, or obviously someone whose name we know as a politician, I guess. So he said, okay. He said, I'll think of one. And he said, have you thought of one? Mike said, yeah, I've got one. And it was no other. There's nothing around. Mike at no point said what he was thinking of. And so the chap said, okay. Now, he did ask one question, which you could say ruled out half the population or half. He said, is it a woman? Oh, no, he actually said, it's not a woman, is it? So it wasn't a question. Well, it was, but he said, it's not a woman, is it? And Mike said, no, it's not. Okay, so he was, one way or another, he was finding out that, or confirming in his mind, it was a man. Then he did what these magicians do. He was looking at Mike and said, just think about it. And he said, now I think I've got it. And Mike looked very, very cynical.
Yeah.
And I thought, because he'd already said this may not work. And I thought this could be a bit, he could have a red face after this. And he said, it's quite a long name, isn't it? And Mike said, well, depends what you're comparing it with.
Mm.
And it turned out it was quite a long name. He said, okay. He said, no. And then he wrote it down. That's right. Not Mike. The chap wrote it down, and he said, "Yeah, I'm looking at you." And he wrote down this name, and he said, "It's quite a long name." And Mike said, "Well, it depends what you're comparing it with." He said, "Okay, can you say now what politician you thought of?" And Mike said, "Alec Douglas Hume." And I really thought he was going to say, oh, "Okay." He turned it round, and he'd written down Alec Douglas Hume.
No.
It was phenomenal, because when magicians can kind of do this mind reading trick, but there's things that, so, you know, they make the person write it down and hide it, and you just don't know whether there's cameras or mirrors or anything else. Because I don't personally believe in mind reading. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are some people who do have some talent that their brain enables them to do that. But it was phenomenal, and Mike was. There's no way he was in on it. He just could have been blown over. He said, how did you do that? I mean, it's the most obvious question. How did you do that? And he said, I don't know. I can just do that. And you can see why people like Elton John, who loves his parties, will have him there entertaining people, because it was just incredible. And again, you said earlier about the complexity of the human brain, and it has to be something like that. The only thing I thought afterwards, I used to watch a guy on television called Darren Brown. I don't know whether you know him.
Oh yeah.
I think he called himself a mentalist, and he used to do sort of similar things. But he said the way some magicians do that, when they come in, when people are coming into the theatre to see the show, he said they will have certain pictures up of certain, whether it's show business people, sports people, politicians, just around, which we see as we go in, but we don't really compute it in the brain.
Yeah.
So when on the stage he calls people up and says, well, I'd like you to think about a footballer, and they've had perhaps one or two pictures of David Beckham or somebody in their mind almost automatically, apparently, or will often go for this, what is it, subliminal? It's subliminal work on the brain, which we're not really conscious of. That will be one thing. And I just wondered if maybe somehow he'd arranged to have a pictures of old politicians in there, which somehow Mike had seen, because in the absence of that, and it probably wasn't that, I have no clue how he possibly did that.
Wow.
It was quite incredible. Quite incredible.
Wow.
I saw a similar thing online, and this guy is a mystic of a thing as well. So he's quite a few audience, and he's been doing the mystic thing. And one of the audience stood up and said, "All right, I've got one for you now." And the guy said, "What have you got?" He said, "Can you tell me my nickname when I was a baby?" And the magician or whoever said, all right, I'm going to write it down. And he had this big cardboard that you could fold into two, right? And he wrote it in the cardboard.